Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We'll be starting this webinar shortly. We just want to give everyone a second to tune in, and then we'll be good to go. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. My name is Eric Anderson. Thank you guys for joining us today for this Duncan Aviation Straight Talk webinar over the importance of engineering. Today I'm joined by a couple of awesome people from the Duncan Aviation Engineering Department, Tracy Bohoboy, Michael Hill, and Don Schaefer. You guys want to take a quick second to introduce yourselves and tell us more about you?
I'd be happy to. Hello, my name is Tracy Bohoboy. I'm one of the engineering team leaders located in Lincoln, Nebraska. I've been with Duncan just over 13 years.
Hey, thanks, Tracy. And I'm Michael Hill. I'm the Enterprise Engineering Manager here at Duncan Aviation, and I've been with the company 16 years.
Okay, and my name is Don Schaefer. I'm the MRA ODA Administrator in Battle Creek, Michigan. I've been with the company for 32 years.
Awesome. And like I said, my name is Eric Anderson. I work in the Marketing Communications Department here at Duncan Aviation, and I've only been here for about 3 years, so I have quite a bit of catching up to do. Quick note before we get started. If you guys have any questions, please use the chat bar at the right side of your screen. We'll do our best to get to as many of those as possible at the end of the webinar. All right, let's go ahead and get started.
Hey, thanks, Eric. So as I said, I'm Michael Hill. And, you know, one of the questions we get asked as Duncan Aviation is do you have an engineering department? And really, I am surprised at how many people don't realize it. Yeah, we do have an engineering department here at Duncan Aviation. Not only do we have an engineering department, we are the best department at Duncan Aviation. Of course, that's a joke. But we do, and we have quite a few services as well. And they say, what do we do? Well, we support primarily our modification business or / alterations. So in our engineering, you know, we're going to be supporting our interior shop, our avionics install shops. We also support, you know, our 27, I believe, satellite shops around the nation. So we develop data and we do things that include them and helping them do their installations and completions of their aircraft. How many engineers do we have? Well, we have approximately 70 people in our department. And they go across all 3 facilities. So we have engineers who are embedded in Provo, in Lincoln, Nebraska, and in Battle Creek, Michigan. And again, I said we support all the mods business. You know, inside of our engineering, and when I say engineering, I'm also including our ODA. Now, I am not an expert in ODA, and you don't want to hear me talk about what they do. So Don Schaefer, a little bit later on, he's going to give you much more detail and talk about it way better than I can. So I'll leave that up to him. But our engineering department, you know, not only do we support our mods business across the country, you know, because of our access to airplanes, our knowledge and our experience, we also have the ability, and we also have, you know, assisted and helped OEMs and also other installations, other FBOs, and other vendors as well who just need our experience and our knowledge to help them on STC type projects or anything they really want to have us complete and help them out with. Now, with our engineering department, as I said, we do installations on avionics installations, our cabin modifications, which is our interior shop, but we also have a flammability lab too. So we're able to do burn testing, and all of that is encompassed and all that is within our facilities. So we can do a lot here. So that's a little bit of overview of what we do within engineering and how our engineering supports our mods business and supports engineering. And really, our hopes is to help support the industry as a whole. So next, I would like Tracy Bohoboy will give you a little bit more in depth on really what our engineers do.
Thanks, Michael. I'd love to introduce you guys to the team. Eric, I know you had asked about what our team does and sort of what the different disciplines were. I'm not sure if you know, but the hands-on nature of our job, where we get to work and interact with production and the airplane and the different materials, makes it very much a fun role. There's basically 3 types of engineers here on our team. The first one being the avionics electrical systems engineers. That team is working with the different systems in the airplane. They're taking whatever systems customers and they're going to integrate it into the airplane. They're going to look at the different types of wires, coax, parts, and components that are going to be needed for those requests. They do all sorts of installations, anywhere from cabin management type installations, where that's going to be your audio and visual, different monitors, sound systems, lighting, things like that, to avionics in the cockpit, to even special mission flight inspection type installations. Next, the structural engineers, they're going to be doing the structural installations of antennas, avionics boxes, support structures. They're going to be running the analysis. They're going to be using AutoCAD and SolidWorks to create the designs. And then the interior engineers are the ones that are creating the beautiful galleys, side ledges, PSU panels, different floor plans. All of those engineers are looking at a variety of materials, composites, metals, to create these different installations. Michael, do you want to talk a little more about the Flammability Burn Lab?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you maybe come back to speaking about it. Because I mentioned it a little bit earlier, but I probably didn't get in depth a lot. But I really want to promote the fact that, we have a Flammability Burn Lab. And that lab, as we just expanded the beginning of the year, we moved over to a much larger facility now. We can still do vertical burn testing. We can do horizontal burn testing. But we're looking to expand is even start doing oil burning, which many of you guys know is fire block testing. So that's where we're moving into, and we're progressing into our new burn lab. And I would kind of promote this if you have any questions, and that goes to anything that we've talked about. Any questions you guys have, feel free to ask us, in the chat bar, and even we're going to give you more of our contact information. Hey, let us know more about your burn capabilities and what you guys can do there. But I want to continue to discuss what we can do with our new burn lab and all the capabilities and things that we have here. So thanks, Tracy, for reminding me, and they can get back in discussing that a little bit more.
Oh, you're welcome.
Now, Schaefer, there you go, man. It's all you.
And I'm going to discuss at least the very first portion of this. Is just more of a certification in general of what goes on. Tracy and Michael have discussed in our engineering department what goes on as far as we have structures engineers and systems and equipment engineers, interior, and so forth. And these are the individuals who actually do the hands-on work, drawing, designing, and getting the drawings down to the floor. Working in certification is kind of interesting, as I've told these guys before, that you get yourself into a social situation, and we're always asked the question, well, what do you do for a living? And, I almost want to avoid the question sometimes because, what is aircraft certification? And, it is, what it is we're a support group. That's how I would really kind of describe the situation we have here. In the title of the slide we have here, we do have what we call certification specialists and coordinators. Now, we're not going to talk about the ODA per se here, but this is just a group of people that work under the certification end of the house. And they support those who are doing a lot of the drawing work and the design work. What it is, certification specialists, in a lot of ways, they're authors, people who might write a ground test plan or a flight test plan for us. They may be someone who writes flammable fluids reports or equipment qualifications reports or electrical load analysis. So these are more of what we would consider our documentation writers, yet a very knowledgeable and skilled group of people. They have to understand these systems and know what they're doing in order to do this type of work. Interestingly enough, we have what we call our certification coordinators, and these are the people that sometimes I call the Touchmeister, or the people that they've got their hand on the entire project. So a certification coordinator has been assigned a particular aircraft. Our customer's aircraft is given to them, and they develop a certification plan, which is a roadmap for what we're going to do in engineering and in certification to get the job done efficiently and smoothly and correctly. So what they are is they've got their hand on all the different disciplines in the shop or in our office. It can be, the structures, the systems and equipment, and they're monitoring when data is being drawn up, taken to the floor, and when it's coming back and when it's being sent to the unit members for certification and approvals. So that really is just sort of those are the background support people that are in our engineering department working behind the scenes. Now, at a higher level, we've got the ODA, Organization, Delegation, Authorization. And, I'm like anybody else. I get on an airplane when I go for a ride someplace as a passenger and I step into it, I want to know as a passenger, I have a safe airplane. It's compliant, it's safe. Although more often than not, the people getting on planes are just thinking safety. The certification end of it can be kind of perplexing to many people, even the owner and operators of aircraft, because my word, there's just an awful lot of paperwork that goes into it, and there's a certain level of bureaucracy that goes on. But we all have the shared goal with the operators and the regulators, and we're promoting safety. And that's what the goal is of what we're trying to do in the ODA. And our part of maintaining the aircraft in an airworthy condition. And I like to say sometimes, when it comes to certifying an airplane and keeping it safe, there's a couple aspects to it to just remember that we're all part of this. Number one is the aircraft is certified under Part 21, which is an approved design. Number two, the owner operators are operating it properly. They're flying the airplane correctly under Part 91. By that, I mean that you don't take your Cessna 172 out and go do aerobatics in it. You're operating within the limitations of the aircraft. And number three, that the airplane is being maintained under Part 43, and that's being done properly. So as you can see here, under the ODA, we've got a couple avenues we can take for certification. We have an STC, an MRA, and a PMA. The STCs, of course, attaining an STC, what we're doing is we're modifying from the original type design of the aircraft, and it's a relatively complicated process. There's a very detailed certification path that we have to work through. In the end, we're providing instructions on how to perform the modification. Okay, and in many cases, for a lot of the modifications that need to be done that require an STC, the owners and the operators don't have the resources to do this. And that is what Duncan Aviation provides, is the resources to do this type of work. Further down, we have the MRAs, major repairs and alterations. And in some ways, looking at this would be like a field approval, in a sense. That's just to be a field approval in a sense. Then we have the parts manufacturing approval as well. We've got, in a sense, the question comes up is, what is ODA? And I think it's, for a long time, delegated authority hasn't, it's been around for a long, long time. And we're maybe familiar with their designated engineering representatives. And that's been utilized for many years. What ODA is, it's taken that delegation, not at an individual level, but it's taking it at an organizational level. So the FAA has delegated the organization to perform the certification efforts. And in that, we have unit members under all the disciplines that we've discussed that, in a sense, act in a way of what we remember from the DERs. Structures unit member would then get data and then perform an approval on an 8100-9, and then the ODA in the end would perform the ultimate approval that we have a complete data package, and then that's presented on an 8100-11. That's just the general overview, Michael.
Yeah, and Don, I think I'd appreciate it. One thing I think we forgot is that, us having the ODA, the benefits it gives us, the things that we have more control. And that was the reason why, as an organization, we wanted to pursue and become a delegated authority, because we wanted to have that more control, the control of really with our schedule, and more like that, to really not only help us be successful, but also it helps us when it comes to whenever we want to complete a project, when it comes to scheduling a project. Having more control is better for us and better for our organization as well, and helps us work through projects. So I just wanted to make sure I threw that piece in there. Thanks, Don, for for all the information. It's definitely appreciated. And
before you drive away, back up there for a second. Before we drive away,
hey.
And one aspect of the ODA that gets, sometimes in discussions.
Well, I'm gonna cut you off. You should have said before you fly away. Remember, this is aviation, so we'll go back. All right, there you go. Sorry.
Okay. We have the STC, the MRA, but there's other aspects of the ODA we have that make this a good organization to come to, where you can have most of it, if not all the work done. And that is, we have airworthiness functions that can be done here as well. And by that, a lot of it is to support the STC efforts in a lot of cases, such as issuing standard or special airworthiness certificates. Or if you've got a damaged or you need to amend your airworthiness certificate, you can do that. And as well, exports and imports can be conducted here as well. So I like to just, sometimes we kind of get so focused in on the engineering end of it, we kind of forget about the airworthiness guys, but they are a very important part of our group in making sort of a one-stop shopping situation here.
Should we share some of our favorite projects with them?
Hey, yeah, why not? Nice job, Tracy. Way to segue us to the next one.
So this one happens to be one of my favorite. Yes, it's from a number of years ago when I started at Duncan as a structures engineer. But what I like about this is the uniqueness of it, the bright colors, and just really the style of it.
Now, Tracy, it is kind of funny you say the uniqueness of it. I mean, some of it's obvious as far as the colors. It just sort of has the 60s look. But really, what other aspects of this were unique?
What about that table?
That's funny that you say that. Exactly. That table there in the center of the aisle was a certification challenge, if you will. We have to evaluate aisle width and egress for a passenger. Is there appropriate spacing for passengers to get in and out of the airplane? So that was one of the things that we really had to pay special attention to.
All right. Well, thanks. Thank you, Tracy. So, go ahead, Don.
I just know from my experience in certification that you walk into a cabin, and as I've told many people, again, outside of work, you sit down in an airline and you look around, everything that, if there's lettering in the cabin, if there's a location, there's a color, there's a width, everything in that cabin is there for a specific purpose. It isn't willy-nilly. It's
very intentional, yeah.
Yes, very intentional.
All right. Well, thanks, Don. One of my favorites is the one we did a few years ago, and it was on the Grumman Albatross. Oh, and there it is. Thank you, whoever moved the slide up. And it was so unique. And the fact that I like this one, the fact, even to this day, I look in a trade magazine, I'll see this come up somewhere. It still wins awards. It's one that, besides its uniqueness, it was also very functional. So it's actually one that the customer was using it, not just for a showpiece, but to go out and fishing and do things, such as that. But I just loved, the unique design of it, the functionality. And I said, to this day, it's still one that we see in trade magazines, and it pops up, and we get that sense of pride that was something that was done here. So that was a very unique project for us, and one that stands out to me. And we have a couple of these pictures here, but we've done a lot of unique projects that just stand out over the years. I would just invite anyone who's on listening to us, visit our websites, look at some of the pictures of some of the projects we've been able to complete. And we compete with some as well, but ones that we've completed, more recently, we do everything. We put in bidets, showers, all those kind of things we can do and put them in the airplanes. And it's just so unique. And that's one of the things I love about working here and being in this industry, just some of the uniqueness and some of the challenges that we were able to work through. So that was one of mine.
And Michael, I'm going to jump in here quick.
Okay.
Go back. The marketing department actually put together a time lapse for this project. From start to finish, we have it all documented. So if you want to watch that, head over to our website, duncanaviation.aero, and then click the videos or the resources and videos tab, and there you can watch that whole process.
All right, cool. Thanks. So let's jump into some of our most commonly asked questions. I know you guys can have questions later on. Feel free. That's what we really want to do in this webinar is really answer a lot of questions. But there are some commonly asked questions that we receive all the time. And one of the first ones, and Tracy, if you don't mind taking this one, I really would appreciate it.
I sure will, Michael. So we often get asked, is it helpful to send my wiring diagrams once I've signed the contract? And the answer is absolutely. The sooner you can get that documentation, and I'll even add, not just wiring diagrams, but even your burn packages, any drawings that you have for placards, floor plans, interior information, if you could get those sent to Duncan, that would be incredibly helpful. It allows our engineers time to go through them. And it also allows us an opportunity to uncover something that may need additional attention. So yes, send them right away.
And Tracy, you mentioned something about time. We know that time is a value for all of us. So we're bringing in a project, and if you're wanting to work a project earlier, the soonest we can get those wiring diagrams, because as you said, we talked about time, is that we want to reduce the downtime. And if we can get started on the engineering and we can get started working on it, it really helps not only the customer, but it helps us as well to be able to complete it. And as you said, the accuracy of the data that we're putting together, this really goes a long way. And
that's a great point, Michael. Great point.
Another frequently asked question for us is that, especially from a customer we've had years ago, hey, I've misplaced my ICA, who should I call? The very first answer is, if you brought your airplane to Duncan Aviation, and if you remember who your project manager, give him a call, shoot him an email, and he will help you work through that, and he will send that request up to engineering. If you don't remember, of course, at the end, we're going to have our contact information. But again, I'll refer you back to the website of our contacts we have. Contact us, and we can help you find that ICA and work through it. And I'm saying ICA here, but it's also really any documents or any data that we produced. Just give us a call. The good thing about Duncan Aviation, we're going to be here. So we've been able to keep all the records, and we're able to keep that, and you know who to call, and we're going to be here for you.
So for those of you who aren't as familiar with the nomenclature here, ICA stands for Instruction for Continued Airworthiness. Basically, it's a document where the owner and operators use it to maintain their airplane. It gives them instruction on how to install, remove, and what types of inspections and maintenance needs to be performed on their airplane.
Thanks, Tracy.
Okay.
Don Schaefer.
What about that next question, espresso machines?
Yes.
So, there's a lot of articles you can buy. You can put in an airplane that are already at least have some level of aircraft certification involved with it, whether it's been environmentally tested, for instance, if it's been fire tested, things of this nature, TSOs or whatever. And we can, there are coffee machines that are like that, and we can install that. There are also what we call commercial off-the-shelf items, things that you would basically have in your home, run down to one of the big box stores and grab yourself an espresso coffee machine and have that installed. The answer here is you're always going to have to take it on a case-by-case basis. But if we come with some commercial off-the-shelf technology, we do have guidance in place from the FAA that we would use to install that, if possible, where we evaluate the actual coffee machine in this particular case, whether it meets some level of qualification through, say, Underwriter Laboratory or whatever. And then we would have to also modify the interior structure of the aircraft in order to accept this in a way that would be safe. So on the other hand, we could potentially be presented with a article that, upon further evaluation, we could not install it in the aircraft. So that one, I would take that as well and then roll it down into the next question, because I think the next question is mine as interesting floor plan in another aircraft. It's sort of like the coffee maker. We're going to take it on a case-by-case basis. Bring us the information you've got, photographs, design, whatever you've got. We would evaluate it to determine, and again, I'm going back to the discussion we just had with Tracy about the interior, particularly when it comes to floor plans and items in the cabin. Things are very intentional. And so you want to make sure that whatever it is you've seen in your floor plan or the idea that you've got, we can take a look at that and make sure that we can do that in a way that is compliant with the regulations and safe.
All right. Thanks, Don. And Tracy, I know this next question is near and dear to your heart.
It is. I'm so passionate about this one. We get phone calls all the time, or we have friends in the community, and people often ask, do you offer job shadows? And the answer is absolutely yes, we do. All of our contact information is listed at the end of this presentation. You're welcome to reach out to us. We would love to have you come on site and see what life as an engineer at Duncan Aviation looks like.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tracy. We had someone ask who they should contact if they're interested in the job shadow program. So the answer to that question would be Tracy.
Sounds great.
So we're going to go ahead and jump into the questions now. We received a number of them, kind of running low on time. So we'll do our best to get to as many of those as possible. We had someone ask, are you currently accepting new applicants for the engineering planning department?
I'll answer that one. Right now, we do not have a job posting. However, we would love to see your resume. We would love to hear from you. We're always seeking out potential candidates for when there is a time that we do have an opening.
Oh, absolutely, Tracy, and I'll add on to that too. You said, it's great, and if you really want to, there's also, even if there isn't a job posting, I always suggest to go on to the website and put together a profile. And if you put together a profile, you will be notified when a position posting becomes available or something that matches or lines up with your skills or what you're looking for also. And even as Tracy said, if you don't see anything, still shoot us your resume. Because I'll just say we're always looking for top talent. So even if there's nothing there, if we get someone, we're like, oh my goodness, this is a person who looks like would fit perfectly in our culture and what we do, we will always look into that. So great question.
Well, we may even see, hey, based on your resume and your experiences, we may have another position open that would fit just perfect.
Awesome. We kind of already touched on this, but we had someone said they're interested in being an engineer at Duncan Aviation. How would you guys recommend she does that?
Tracy, you want to take that one too?
I will. There's lots of different paths to get to engineering at Duncan Aviation. Okay, so I took a path in which I went to Iowa State and I studied aerospace engineering. We have several other engineers here that have studied mechanical, electrical, structural engineering. Now, the other path is based on experience. We have a number of engineers who have learned the engineering skill based on hands-on experience. Don, do you want to?
Exactly. I'm just going to jump in because I'm an example of what Tracy's talking about right now. I do have a university degree at Western Michigan University, but I started into Duncan Aviation. Well, actually, at the time it was Aero in 1988 as a airframe and power plant mechanic. I had that certificate, and I worked my way through the airframe shop. And there was an opportunity then to move into aircraft electrician work, doing avionics installs. So this is the early 1990s. It was just an awful lot of that type of work beginning to happen in the retrofit side of things. As that progressed through the 90s, then the opportunities opened up in our engineering department to take on a systems designer position. And I did that for many years. And then it just progressed, becoming a DER and then a unit member and then working up to the position I've got. So I have found that I've witnessed that not just with myself, but other people in this company. There's just a lot of room to move around if you're an ambitious individual. To basically make it work for you,
I would say great answers by both of you guys, because as you kind of said, Don, at the end, it's your ambition. There are multiple routes to being an engineer and being in the engineering department. And if that's what you want to do, you continue to work towards that, and your route might be different from Tracy's route, might be different than from Don's route, and it definitely would be different from my route.
And one of the things I like about this business, I'm going to go ahead and just toot the horn here a little bit, is I've been here nearly 33 years, and frankly, I've hit a point where I still realize I go home at the end of the day, and I've actually learned something at the end of the day. So, there's no reason not to be learning new things on a daily basis, even after that many years.
Awesome. Well put, guys. So we kind of already touched on this one, but what's the coolest project you guys have worked on? Is there another example you guys can think of?
For me? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, repeat that one again for me. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Yeah, so we already talked about the coolest project that you guys have worked on. We had someone ask if there's any other examples of cool projects that you guys have worked on in your careers.
Don and I have worked on a number of flight inspection system aircraft, and what that means is basically we are installing possibly up to 20 antennas, different avionics systems in the airplane. Our customers all over the world install these and use these airplanes to do basic calibrations on the equipment for the airports that are out there.
Yeah. I don't know that I don't want to say this qualifies as a maybe cool project, but I was proud to be a part of it throughout the late 90s when the enhanced ground proximity warning systems were coming online. We did an awful lot of those types of jobs. And if you look at the statistics on controlled flight into terrain, when that system was employed, you could see that drop off. And I was proud to be a part of that program as far as putting that level of safety into aircraft, because there's people walking around today that are alive because of that. They don't know it, but they are. So I think for myself, that was really, I don't know if cool is the right word, but just very proud of the work that we did.
Yeah, that's awesome. What else do we have? So what's the toughest engineering request you guys have received?
Oh, good question, man. I got to go back. There
Machine.
What was that, Don?
Never mind.
No, I was just thinking about some of the unique, I would say, materials that we've used and we have had to approve and get everything, get in the airplane. I know some of those might not be, I would say, I would do, anywhere from stingray skin in airplanes to, and I mentioned a little bit earlier, a bidet, putting a bidet in the airplane, but that probably wasn't too difficult, but probably just cool to me that, hey, we're putting this in airplanes. But there are just some unique ones that just pop up over the years, and just, I think they kind of just, I start forgetting about them, and this is a great question because it starts making me start thinking about things that we've done and the unique things and the great things we've been able to do.
Well, what I would do is, I joke there about putting in the espresso machine. That seems like one of the more challenging things to do. But I will point out that at least from the certification perspective, that it's almost easier sometimes putting in something like an AHAR system or a display system that's something that's intentionally made to be for an aircraft, maybe a transport category aircraft, as opposed to items that you bring back into the cabin where you've got commercial off-the-shelf technology. That's really where I think some of the challenges come in.
Okay.
But the challenges make it fun.
Awesome. We're running close on time, so we're time for just one more question. We had Sean ask, how did Mr. Hill become the Enterprise Engineering Manager, and what skills do you need for that?
Besides great looks, does that count? Well, I would say a lot of it, how did I become engineering manager? Well, my route is kind of unique from Don and Tracy. And, I think we mentioned earlier about the different ways you can get into engineering. I am a avionics technician, I like to say, by trade, starting out from the Air Force to working on government contracts, from working in the B-2 bomber for years, all as an avionics person, and then getting into leadership, working for a small FBO, to getting in, as I said, to being in leadership here at Duncan Aviation, starting as an assistant manager in avionics and kind of progressing up through that from assistant manager in avionics to assistant manager in engineering to Battle Creek engineering manager to enterprise engineering manager. So it's just, I would say, the skills that it takes, as I think we mentioned earlier, is a determination. And I think just a love and a passion for our industry and a love and a passion for people. And I think that's really is what has helped me get to where I am today. And I think I think those are the traits that I think that many can take that can get them to where I am now. So thanks, Sean, for that question. Good question.
Awesome. Well said. Well, we're just about out of time here, so we need to wrap this thing up. Tracy, Michael, Don, thank you guys so much for being here. Is there anything else you guys would like to add?
Oh, I'll just jump in and say thank you for everyone who's joined us. I mean, it means a lot, and it says a lot for those who've joined this webinar and wanted to listen to Tracy, Don, and I speak for about 30 minutes or so. And, whether it's students or potential customers or customers that we've had or others in the industry, we definitely appreciate you guys taking the time out to hearing us and hearing what we do here and hopefully hearing things that we can help you in your career or help you in your project or anything that we can do in the industry. So definitely appreciate that.
I love that, Michael. Yes, thank you. I also want to give a shout out to our teams out there. We could not be here sharing these stories without them. So thank you to our teams.
Awesome. And one thing I might add is everyone who registered for this webinar will send a replay link to. Feel free to share that with anyone who's interested. So be looking out for that. All right, for those of you who don't know, we're the largest privately owned business jet service provider in the world. We have maintenance, repair, and overhaul service offerings at 3 of our facilities in Lincoln, Nebraska, Battle Creek, Michigan, and Provo, Utah. If you guys want to learn more about us and the handful of services that we offer, I invite you to check out our website, duncanaviation.aero, and follow us on social media. And then a plug for all of our resources. I know we talked about the different videos, time lapses, galleries, and webinars we've hosted. Head over to our website, duncanaviation.aero/resources. We have a bunch of awesome stuff there. So check that out when you get a chance. And follow us on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and follow us on YouTube. All right, that's all from us. Thank you guys for joining us. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.